With Zion entering the show, things have started to heat up as we get more Cyberse support, and stakes are finally being implemented into Dueling, where if you lose, you become a piece of the Go Rush furniture. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today we're talking all things episode 70 of the Yugioh Go Rush anime series, an episode that finally addresses the Yudias lack of points situation, while also building up tension for our heroes to overcome. And finally, I believe it sets up Epoch's character to face Zaion. And here's why. So currently we have Yudias versus Zion, and the duel itself also is heating up as we start going into the second phase of it. But we have Space White Radio, which is amazing in of itself, but we learn that after this duel, if Zion wins, Yudias will become a bunk bed. Yes, the price for losing still continues to get weirder and weirder in Yu-Gi-Oh! But will Yudias lose? No. And here's why. Yudias currently is in need of battle points. They expressed out within this episode. And with Zion taking down characters like Tremolo, like Dinios, it's safe to say that he's accumulated at least some points already. And Yudias needs them for this tournament. But then if Yudias wins, how does he get furniturized? Well, simple. We see Zion using his beam on Alfred outside of a duel, meaning losing the duel is not the only way that he can furniturize people. Epoch has been really scared / intimidated throughout this episode, and because of Zion's character. We know that Alfred wants her to learn rush duels so that she can face her issues and overcome them in her own way. And what better way for a crowning moment for Epoch's character than to have her beat Zion, the CEO of a company that's been harassing the Kamijo family for such a long time, while also saving her dear friend in Yudias, because this episode really wanted to hammer home and show off how important Yudias is to Epoch. We know they have a strong friendship and a strong bond, and this episode really wanted to emphasize that even more. So, if something bad happened to Yudias because he was trying to save Epoch, regardless of whether or not she was scared, I think she would still try and push through it and help save Yudias in the end. Plus, her overcoming her fears and an opponent that Yudias, even though Yudias B still had issues with, would help prove to Yudias that his help in tutoring her has been worth it, and technically he's no longer needed as her tutor, but maybe more so as a friend. Better yet, if this scenario does play out, where Yudias wins but still gets furniturized and then Epoch has to take down Zion, we can get that Yudias versus Yuhi final matchup that Yuhi really wanted. As a side note, I really like this inner conflict that we got from Yudias in this episode, in where he had to choose between his duties as a tutor or his wishes of his dear friend in Yuhi. But again, with this situation I'm proposing here, it's possible that we could still get both Yuhi's wish and Yudias' full display of heroism and Epoch's character development. It all writes itself and it all makes sense. Now, let's talk about Yuhi, as in this episode, it was a really nice episode for him, as we learn more about his feelings towards Yudias, as he's a person who he deeply missed in this time period that we've had, since obviously Yudias saved Valdir, them returning to Earth, and all the crazy stuff that's been happening with MLK. They haven't really had much time to interact because of all of that. Yuhi started off acting cold towards Yudias when he first returned to Earth. Then we had the whole cat situation that happened. And then obviously we have Yudias spending all of his time with Epoch. So we haven't really had that massive reconnection between Yudias and Yuhi yet. So with the music, along with the visuals, this scene that we had in front of the train tracks was really impactful, and I liked it. Also, the flowers in the background, if I'm not mistaken, I think they represent friendship. But anyway, it just all looked like a nice scene. Also, I really like this new sassy and more lethal with words style that Yuhi has kind of adapted to his character. using things like the study gimmick against Manabu to try and manipulate him in order to gain something of value out of Manabu, this time being a duel. These actions were refreshing, and yet still very familiar, because they seem like actions that a very early Yuumu would have taken in the starting stages of Go Rush. So I think the twins are starting to learn from each other and use each other's kind of techniques, and it's showing a good sense of self-awareness from the show. That, hey, these characters are acting like this, and other characters are seeing that and going, that might be useful. I might try and do that at some point. Case in point, Yuumu did the exact same thing, I think, with Fisher Sky, when Sky was first announced. You know, using things against him, having leverage, and then just kind of being a bit sneaky with what she was saying. Yuki doing the same thing, and I like it. So then, more cyber support is here in Rush Duels, as Zaion uses the Cyberless monsters and traps and spells, which gives us a effect monster, Space Yugioh monster. And this thing looks pretty cool. Granted, it's just the same like one that Nail had, but with a different color palette. But in the preview, we do get possibly a fusion monster, which looks amazing in of itself and is much more menacing aura about it. It's bigger, it's badder, it looks stronger. And we who have watched Sevens can remember how intimidating and menacing a Yugioh monster can be. So hopefully in the next episode, we see this thing in all of its glory, and it just kind of decimates Yudias for a little bit, and then Yudias kind of steps up and does what he does best. We still remember and can hear, if you listen carefully, the screams of Seven's Road Magician. The only other thing to note would have been the prize conversation between the three organizations sponsoring this tournament. They finally have a long-winded, complicated name for the tournament, but I love the fact that the show shows its self-awareness in how they managed to perceive the public opinion of the Mr. Universe Space Monster Collection and realized that it's not to the public liking, and now they're scrabbling to think of what would be a suitable prize for the winner. This, again, was funny, it's smart, and it was all around a little bit of positivity for this episode that just helped make it even more enjoyable. And I'm still curious now as to what Phaser is up to, because he seems to have a plan, but he's not really letting us in on much. Anyway, I loved this episode from start to finish, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how the duel continues and what could follow. Let me know your thoughts on what I've said in this review, and obviously the episode itself in the comments down below. Hope you've enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff for more things Yu-Gi-Oh! Have a great day. Arigato, matane. Goodbye.